What's up, game boys and girls? Big T here, back with another video, and we're gonna get into a few things with this video. We're gonna talk about emulation. We're gonna talk about the yuzu situation to a bit, and I think I'm gonna split this part off, although it's kind of a relevant topic to what I'm talking about here. Anti-consumerism when it comes to exclusives and exclusivity when it comes to video games. So, and obviously the Nintendo factor. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So I wrote myself some notes. So I'm gonna be looking down here and there because I hate when I do videos and I don't freaking remember everything I wanted to say. I'll put the video out. I'm like, oh man, I wanted to make this point. So I'm trying to make certain that I make notes for my videos beforehand. I used to have time to script everything out, and I'll try to get back to that, in certain videos, but I'm doing the best I can here. I work a lot of hours. So we're going to talk about, like I said, the emulation situation and how I feel. All right, so I'm a big proponent of emulation. Emulation is legal. It is legal. Anybody who tells you it's not is lying, is coping. I mean, I don't know what you want to call it, but it is by its very definition legal. Way back in the day, to solidify that as law, there was, I think, Sony versus Bleem. If you don't know, Bleem was basically an emulator software on the Dreamcast that allowed you to play certain PlayStation games. And there was a big legal battle with Bleem and Sony over it, and Bleem eventually won, but I'm sure Sony just mired them in lawyer fees and all kinds of stuff, bills, and it never took off. I think the company pretty much went bankrupt soon after, but the product did actually reach market. Our good friend Terminator Juice actually still has his Bleem for Dreamcast, for Metal Gear Solid specifically, and so that software targeted specific games. So it would release packs for specific games. So when people say to you, or when you hear they can't make money off emulators, yes, they can. You can make money specifically because of that case, for one, but you can make money off of emulators, but some people may feel that it's dicey, and there's a way for some nuances to cause a Nintendo or a company like that to come after you over it. But yes, you can have your Patreon and all that good stuff. But specifically when it comes to yuzu, so let's go ahead and just get into that. It wasn't about them just having a Patreon. They locked certain abilities for specific games behind their Patreon, for the emulators. So if you wanted a certain version of the emulator that would allow you to play certain games, it was locked to a certain tier. So you had to in their, I don't know if it was in their Discord, they explained a lot of that stuff, and Nintendo actually had Nintendo ninjas in the Discord, and they documented a lot of stuff that these guys were saying, and that was also a lot of the reason that they decided to settle, because I'm sure there were some damning things in there that made them look really bad, and they didn't want to go to court, a trial, and that way discovery, which is something that happens when you go through court, which means you have to turn over everything and basically discuss all these things that Nintendo would have brought up. So I'm sure Nintendo had screenshotted a bunch of conversations with some of the developers, and they were basically, promoting piracy. Now that was the thing. So the versions locked, the versions of the emulator yuzu locked certain abilities. So it locked the ability to play Tears of the Kingdom specifically, and be able to use certain features in the game, or for that game, and the game had not launched yet. And so that was a damning thing. It's like, well, you're making money off a game that hadn't launched that you didn't make. It was Nintendo's game. So that kind of despicable. Not kind of, but very despicable. And it's things like that hurt the case for emulation, even though emulation is legal. Piracy is not, and they are different things. They can be the same thing, but they are specifically different things. So that's what kind of brought down Yuzu, and unfortunately it brought down Citra, because Yuzu, the developers, had contributed a lot to Citra. Citra is very cool. It allows you to play DS games on other devices and like 4 times the resolution. It looks really nice and clean, and it's unfortunate because I have tons of DS games, but again, being that emulation is legal, if I want to max out, the capabilities and get really nice visuals for DS games, I have every right to do that. Now, obviously, the law says you basically have to dump your own stuff, your own ROMs. You have to dump them from the cartridges that you own or whatever, and using your software or using your hardware that you bought from Nintendo. So you have to have those things to be able to back them up legally and then use them. Obviously, not everybody does that, and that includes me. And again, technically that is piracy, but I feel like if I bought the game, I have a copy of the game, or the game is no longer in circulation, Nintendo's not making money off them, it is nowhere to be bought, then for me it's personally fine. You may feel differently, that is completely fine. Everybody has their own opinion on this, obviously, and we know what the law is, right? But emulation itself is legal, and it is a really cool tool. Now, you can use it obviously for game preservation, because we have a lot of games that just basically went out of circulation. They're not on servers anymore. There's no way to buy them. These companies aren't putting them on their new stores. They're just gone forever. The only way to get them is to spend hundreds of dollars to some second, what's the word I'm looking for? To a secondhand seller, right? That's the only way to get this stuff. That is not contributing to these companies' wallets at all. It goes straight to that secondhand seller, which is fine. I have no problem with that. Something's in demand, somebody has it, then that you can set the price for it. It sucks, especially if you're a person that likes to play stuff on original hardware, which I do. Even when I emulate stuff, again, I like to have the game myself. So most of the games that I emulate, most of them, I would say about 90% of them, I actually own. It's just, maybe it's more convenient for me to play it, using this bad boy. Like this is a GameCube on the go. This is a PS2 on the go. This is obviously a DS is already on the go. But again, I can get, really nice visuals on my Steam Deck on the go. So it is also a convenience factor. I can't take all this stuff you see around me with me on the go. It is nice and convenient to be able to emulate it on a second device and play it wherever I am. It's cool, right? And when it also comes to like benchmarking, like I said, you can make those games that maybe didn't run as well on those consoles that you have, but you can make them run at 4 times the resolution, 60 hertz, 120 hertz, whatever your hardware is capable of. That is a cool thing to be able to do, right? So again, emulation is legal. I just kind of went over, because I have my notes here. I went over the emulation. Here's the thing, and people will, I guess, they feel like they're defending Nintendo's honor and whatnot when they say a lot of things. But Nintendo themselves also like emulation. They also admit that emulation is legal because they have Nintendo Switch Online, because they've had the Virtual Console. That is emulation not only of their games but of third-party games. I'm sure they made deals with those third-party companies, obviously, to sell those ROMs, and do emulation through the Wii and the Wii U. And Nintendo Switch Online also is emulating games from Nintendo and Sega and everybody else, right? So they understand that emulation is legal. Almost slipped. They understand emulation is legal. The law understands emulation is legal, and therefore people who act like emulation is piracy, it's just wrong. But I do understand that yes, people use emulation to pirate games. I'm actually going to talk about that extensively in the next part of this video, because I don't want to make this one too long. But yes, people will use excuses, and I'll talk about those excuses as well. But again, for me, I feel that if a game is not available, that the company is not making money off that game, it is just fine for you to do that. Now, obviously, that technically is still illegal, right? It is illegal to use games that you did not pay for, that you don't own, on an emulator. The emulator itself is legal, so do with that what you will. So let's see, is there anything else I can touch up in this video? Not really. I'm just gonna go ahead and save the rest for the next video. I think I just wanted to say that this is obviously a touchy situation for some people, but yuzu specifically, they went way out beyond the realms of what they should have been doing. These emulators had been around basically from the beginning of the Switch, and Nintendo hadn't done anything up until this time, and that was the reason for that, because there was nothing they could really do except for the nuances when it comes to what yuzu was doing. So they had to build their case. I'm sure they were building their case over the last few years, making a strong, solid case, because you got to do that, because again, emulation is legal. So they had to get into their Discord, and I'm sure they saw some salacious things that they presented to yuzu, and that's why they settled for 2.4 million. They're probably lucky that they didn't end up in prison, like they did that one guy, and now he's basically paying for the rest of his life. That I think there was a couple or something that had some kind of ROM website, and they were they were really stupid with it. They were using Nintendo artwork and whatnot. It was very dumb, and they too were wrong. I just think maybe the punishment is a little egregious, but again, that's not up to me. That's up to the law, and what was settled on. So yeah, that's my video, this part of the video anyway. I want to talk more, and specifically the next part will be about PC gamers and kind of their entitlement, and the argument about Nintendo games, and how they're anti-consumer, or not just Nintendo, but all the companies are anti-consumer because they have exclusives. This whole argument, which is strange. It's kind of strange. There's some truth to it, but it's not outrightly true. So I want to get into that. Like I said, it kind of relates to this, so I was going to put it all together, but I want to go ahead and separate it and talk about that specifically, because I didn't want the comment section to be too muddled with different things. I wanted you guys to kind of focus on the emulation side. Tell me what you think about it. How do you feel about emulation and piracy? Yeah, let me know in the comments below. Thank you again for watching and listening, and I'll see you fools next time. Peace out.